Good morning. The work session is now called to order. We will follow the agenda as printed. The first item on the agenda for today is the presentation and discussion of the timing and phasing of the 182 bill, ARPA, and RACE grant projects. At this time, I recognize our Honorable City Engineer, Mr. Cody Burnett. The floor is yours. Thank you. Please come forward.
Thank you for the introduction, Vice Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to turn to the same introduction for Chris Williams. You guys know him, but Chris is our point of contact with the Bill project. He has primarily led the project, make sure it stayed on budget. He's done a good job, I would say. The mayor would say the same thing if she was here, but it's been a lot of work to get to this point to where we have a bid ready, and so Chris has led the charge on that and kept the train on the tracks. So I'm going to defer to him for the presentation. I'm here for questions if they come up or just support, but Chris is the man, so Chris, get us off the ground.
Very good, Mr. Williams. You're recognized. Floor is yours. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank y'all. All right, so I've had a very short presentation to cover over it, cover what we've got on there, so y'all can roll on through everything else. So current budget overview, I think that's the first thing we need to start with to talk about this. So this is giving your funding sources and then the expenses on the project on here. And so what I did was try to take out the stuff we've already paid for. So our remaining build funds that we've got there is $10 million. The local match that we signed on for that original grant was the 2.5 you see. Our local ARPA, MCWI, and then the raise that we just got about a week and a half ago, that's the $20,000 or $20 million line there. So right now, total funding is $42 million and a little over $42.5 million. So then our expenses, we just bid the Burns Dirt was our low bid that we're bringing to y'all today for approval. That was a little over $36 million. Value engineering, the CNI testing is an estimate. We'll have that number hard within the next week to 2 weeks on there. And then showing a 5% contingency. So as you see, everything that boils down, we got 42 and some change, and right now we're right there, 42 and right under it. So with that RACE grant coming in, we're within budget for the project on there. So then the schedule. So the money's good, and we're looking at that side. Next question, schedule. So last time, you know, that one of the issues we had was how tight it was. How we did was we reworked the project, and then we also added more time onto it. So, and I'll talk about some of the issues that we'll have inside of the project for there. So 445 working day contract. So that type of contract is not a calendar day. This takes into consideration rain days or other things along those lines. So that's the actual days that the contractor will be working. So if everything, the board approves it today and then gets on MDOT's agenda next, looking at quickest probably could be September, probably October before shovels will be in the ground on that portion of it. Estimated completion will be spring of 2027 as far as the contract how we have it laid out now. So key issues to talk to y'all about. So one, if we go forward and everything on that is communication with the community. Yesterday we met with the school board and feel like that's going to be one of the biggest things that we have is school traffic. So we're already starting those conversations ahead of time, trying to get those relationships built up. And then as the contractor comes on board, then we'll start talking about their phasings and things along those lines and start talking to business owners and getting out ahead of it to try to let everybody know what's coming and try to coordination with it. So the build grant, like I was talking about the other dates, the build grant money has to be spent by next September. So that's the $10 million. So what we'll do is pull those funds first, and then we'll close out that grant. Then that gives us time for the RACE grant to be able to kick in, and we'll pick up the ARPA, the MCWI, and the RACE grant funds on the back side. Next one that you see on there is the RACE grant obligation of funds. So right now, we've been told by Federal Highways that, hey, you've been awarded that grant. Well, then as y'all know the process, that doesn't mean that we have it right now. We have to go through the grant agreement process, and we have to go back and forth and see exactly what we're signing on to and that. So that usually takes, up to 6 months as far as that goes. So, and we've started that process and looking on it. We'll bring forward everything on that one, but that's an issue just to know that we need to make sure that we stay on the ball with that to get those funds for a cash flow issue. So we've got it all on paper, but we need to go ahead and get that obligated so that way we have it. So whenever we finish spending out the build grant money, we've got the RACE money coming right behind it to have that transition on that one. So I said, super brief, big picture, and so that way we dive into questions and see what y'all want to talk more about and see what you have.
Mr. Williams, great report. Board members, any inquiries to Mr. Williams or the engineer? Gentleman from 5, you recognize.
What if we don't get the what's contingency plan for paying to keep contractor working if that raise money doesn't come?
So the September, so if you figure out what we got, we can back up on that side on there because the cash flow, and we've talked to Webb and kind of looking at all that. So you have $10 million that we have to get out the door as quick as possible. So, and we're gonna have to be working to get that going in time. We've got a plan on it and trying on that side. So we should be good to next early fall, which will get us there. If not, say the build grant money does take longer to hit as far as that, then you have your ARPA and your NCWI funds to be able to cover. So really in hand today, you've got 20 million on there. So you've got a $16 million on the backside of it.
So would ARPA money let you pay for stuff that's non-ARPA related until you get money to reimburse for ARPA stuff related stuff?
And we'll have to figure the cash flow side of that out, but the ARPA side is the drainage and all that, and luckily what we're doing is where we're starting is all heavy utilities. That's how we're doing it. But how the project is worked out, there's not a participating, non-participating. What we're trying to do is look at it as a whole project on that.
Gentlemen, you yield.
Yes, sir.
Any other, on the budget, chair, you recognize.
And I apologize for being a minute late. Is there a raise grant end date?
We will be
As we
well
go through
done
that
for
6
that.
months,
So
okay.
usually, and we don't have, so the other sides, we don't have all the grant agreements, but usually it's like a 5-year window. You
Okay.
kind of think about the bill. So pretty much it's usually every 5 years. So the raise is kind of the new bill. So every so often,
Okay.
the federal government decides to rename stuff. And so they get a new acronym. So this is kind of the new acronym side of it. So with this being, a supplemental to ours, you think about we don't have to do the design phase, we don't have to do any of the procurement, anything on that, so we're straight construction. So we should have ample time on the backside of it. So that's really the caveat on the bill is going ahead and getting that grant agreement signed and agreed to. And really, I feel like the backside, so it's the front side's tight on that. On the build, it's the backside of our date. So we're trying to get the build. The raise needs to be cranked up as quick as possible, and we need to be able to close out the build as soon as possible. It's kind of the schedule to think about it that way.
Any other inquiries from board members? Gentleman from 7, you recognize.
Edward, Stephen, and Cody, when you talk about coming, the school traffic, make sure y'all take on consideration what I showed y'all where the traffic go back to Stewart and come back down all the way back to Long Street, and they won't have to never return back to 182. So y'all, I show all three of y'all that.
That came up yesterday with the school board. We talked about it at length and different options there. I think it's something we've got in our pocket, and if we needed it, something we could explore additionally.
The mayor brought that up, and like I said, we've got it on the table, trying to figure out how to minimize inconvenience.
Yeah, something I've been presenting for a while, while we stay clogged up out there. It's a way out.
The school district said there's 52 buses and 600 cars that come there twice a day, every day. And they were very amicable about trying to work with us. What they were thinking about is trying to bring all their buses there first, maybe to pick the kids up and then go to the other schools. So then that way they could have more space. So they were really looking, they were gonna try to work with us as best they could.
Either take all the buses out one way and let the cars come back out another way.
We talked about Pilchard, and that's the thing. So if you think about the project, we'll probably start at the very low spot there, the drainage, and that's also where the low spot for the sewer. So those utilities are 15 feet deep, and so it'll start there and kind of work their way up the hill as far as that goes. And so it is, what's gonna happen is we'll the Henderson intersection, we'll have to come across it, then across Pilchard, then across school. So it's gonna be probably 2 or 3 different options of how to go through it. And then as one gets impacted, then we kind of try to rotate and shift.
Just as long as we take it under consideration.
That's what we're trying to do, and that's what I said, that seemed like the largest consideration on the first phase of it.
Alderwoman from 1, you recognize.
Don't they have their fall breaks if they're year round now, and their fall break like a longer period, like 2 weeks or 2 weeks?
And this,
I just.
Yeah, we're gonna be there for a while, and-
Digging up the street.
and it is, and so what we told them that we're gonna talk to is maybe we can come up to an intersection and try to do weekend work, and try to do something along those lines, or figure out ways that we can try to speed across an intersection, because then the quicker we can get that intersection open, then it's less on that side of it. But we're gonna try to hit those as much as possible, but we're gonna try to have it to where, because the other side of it is means and methods with the contractor, we open up and we don't know, so pretty much we're gonna try to say, hey, here's some great windows we have, and then at the other side, try to say, okay, well, what if we don't hit that window, how are we gonna do this, worst case, and kind of work from there on that one.
Are there any additional comments, inquiries from board members? Ms. Gentleman from Ford, yes, sir.
So, at the end of the day, if you will, with this budget, we're, we got the money now to basically complete this thing like it was originally designed, or very close to that.
It is, so whenever, if you remember back, whenever we were in the low spot of, hey, we've got a gap, and kind of what we did and decided together is that the other option we could have done is try to slash landscape and try to slash all that stuff, but you weren't gonna move you weren't gonna move the needle by $20 million. It just, there wasn't enough there to do it, type idea. So what we'd done, and we talked to Federal Highways and had gone down this road too, because you kind of remember we had option A, B, C type thing. And so the other option was, okay, we don't have this other money hit, we're gonna try to back it down to the core downtown area and build out. So pretty much we were gonna build what we could build with the money that we had and do it all the way. So luckily, everything worked out to where, so instead of, we didn't slash it out, but we gotta put it back in. So now that it hits and it's a supplemental onto it, it's pretty much as designed on that side of it.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any additional comments, inquiries from board members? Mr. Burnett, you have any final remarks?
Just kudos to Chris for a good job. It's been a very difficult project.
This was a huge, from everything from the mayor with Washington and going and checking on that stuff. Neil Shaker's helped us a ton. It's been a lot of hands that's touched this job to get it to where we're within budget on that side of it.
Very outstanding work from both of you. Thank you for a job well done. We'll move to the next agenda item, discussion of the agenda item for the July 16, 2024 meeting of the Board of Aldermen for the city of Starkville. We have 3 set of minutes. Mr. Attorney, they all ready?
Yes, sir.
Consent?
Senator, okay.
Okay, no discussion. We'll move down to public hearings. Mr. McCaskey, a very brief summary on the 3 public hearings. Yes, sir, you recognize.
Yes, okay, so the one public hearing that we have for planning is the one that is 2405 for a special exceptional allowed for the use of townhomes at Mockingbird. When it went before P&Z earlier this week, it was voted 3-2 to recommend approval with conditions on it, and there was a limit on as far as, and you'll see it in your packet, the center line of basically the waterway, then it limited to the west of that center line. And then there were further staff requirements related to FEMA floodplains, stormwater events, conveyance systems, roadways. There was significant turnout by citizens, and of course, it's also on packet, petitions and letters as well.
As to the first item, any inquiries, comments to Mr. McCaskey? Gentleman, 5, you recognize.
Tell me what it's zoned right now, and what if you were gonna build without any exceptions, what it would allow right now?
It is traditional neighborhood new, so essentially you would be looking at building just regular detached dwellings. Some people might consider that a single-family home, but in order to build something more dense, like a triplex, multiplex, you would be going through a special exception, or a townhome in this case. So traditionally, it's gonna look more like a generic neighborhood with.
Is there any minimum width of lots in a traditional neighborhood?
Yes, there is.
What is that? You know I'd ask something like that. That's just me.
There's another one too.
Yeah, no, it's just something, since it's mobile.
Vice Mayor.
Yes, sir. Yes, you go ahead.
Is it not
Councilman Ford.
5,500 square feet per lot?
Yes, that would be the total square footage, but as far as lot, it's actually.
Is there anything other lot with, you know?
I'm not sure what the lot, it's 5,500 square feet per lot.
Mr. McCaskey, you able to,
No, it's fine.
It's 70.
But the way it's zoned, you have
Little bits. So it's 7.9, so you got to round down, so it's really 7.
This is a good lesson for everybody in how our website works.
So to come in for a traditional neighborhood new, your lot width minimum is gonna be 45 feet. And if you're on a corner, it's 55, and the total size of an individual lot cannot be less than 5,500 square feet.
For the proposed townhomes, what would be the width of the lot?
What they're just proposing right now is the use for it. They provided us with a site plan that went through pre-application, but that site plan has not been like dissected down to the point where we've gotten all of the details.
Based on what they're planning, would it be one townhome on one traditional lot that's 45 feet wide, or what?
Right now, it's showing it just as all one. There has been a discussion about them potentially condoing out that, but that would come at a later point with condo plat, if they decided to do it.
Now, as a planning department person of expertise, in your opinion, I might bring an engineer into this, when you more densely develop something like that versus yards and one house, that kind of thing, do you not create more concrete and more development of hard surface, something that can have adverse effects on water runoff in big, doesn't that have something to do with?
Yes.
That's one of the things we consider when we allow denser development stuff.
And this special exception would be for the entire parcel, not just as you'll see in the packet, the portion that looks like it's just being developed on the left-hand side, unless limited by a condition that I think the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended by that center line. This would be to allow them to build for the entire parcel currently.
And how many acres is that? Approximately.
I think the whole thing is 40. 51 acres.
Vice Mayor, thank you.
yes, sir. Any other comments to Mr. McCaskey on this item? If there are none, we'll go to the second item. Mr. McCaskey, would you introduce that item and inform the board, please, sir?
I believe the next one is going to be with code enforcement regarding Pilcher. The two for the school district
Yes,
were
sir.
tabled by Planning and Zoning Commission,
Yes,
still
sir.
likely go before the next meeting.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But Chief Ballard, it's, the next item in public hearing is 211911 for Pilcher Street, I believe. Which I can speak to slightly. I know that Pilcher Street has not had their connections. We previously.
Go ahead, please, sir.
talked to them about their, the front porch was caving in. They've not had utility connections. I believe they've reached out to the property owner, and I'm not sure that we've had contact yet. I think double check with our building official in mind. But essentially, it's for removal of the structure because it shows signs of visible wear, and there's been no contact as far as fixing up.
Are there any inquiries or comments from the board about this particular item? If not, Mr. McCaskey, I'm asking you to go ahead with the next item, please, sir.
Yes, sir. The next one is going to be this one is 211911, determine whether the building located at 12850 Mississippi Highway 182. This one is going to be what looks like a gas station out on Mississippi Highway 182. And essentially, the sign had rusted over. It's since been fallen down. I believe the owner's looking at removing it. I actually went out with code enforcement, I think about 2 weeks ago, and spoke to the owner. Essentially, we're just looking at getting that site cleaned up because there's, I think, 3 manufactured trailers that are on there that are from about like the 90s or 80s. They've fallen into disrepair, covered in weeds, trees have fallen on them. they're looking at getting them removed, so at this time, we're looking to just make sure the process is done, so that way in case the property owner doesn't follow through, we have the means to clean up the site.
Any comments or inquiries regarding this particular matter? Good. Thank you, Mr. McCaskey, well done.
Thank you, Master.
Yes, sir. Next item on the board business, Roman number 10, consideration calling for public hearings to adopt an ordinance on prohibition of criminal laundering and aggressive solicitation. Gentleman from Ford, you the author of this, you recognize, please.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Yes, sir.
So this, I propose this to the mayor after watching what Tupelo went through. And, when using us recreating the wheel because they had gone through getting an ordinance in place, and it addresses two issues. One is aggressive panhandling and then loitering, and it's in your packet. And see if I can, there's a couple things I wanted to mention about it. What I've done with it now. Here it is right here. So anyway, went to the city attorney, he took a look at it. So under the loitering, on any private property, it's okay if you get permission from the property owner. But one of the things that addresses is like on Highway 12, 50 feet of an intersection, we've got over 2,000 vehicles a day, or within 25 feet of a street or right of way where the speed's in excess of 35. And then under the panhandling, I've been hit up at gas stations and not normally gas stations, usually at the intersections, I just go on by, but at gas stations where people don't tend to want to take no for an answer. And, and also then if you're kind of in a vulnerable place, such as if you're at an ATM or a bank or a check cashing place, it just makes it illegal for somebody to come up and aggressively solicit money from you or something along those lines. Anyway, it's the ordinance. The mayor did a good job. She went through and essentially took the Tupelo ordinance and reworked it for the city of Starkville, ran it by the city attorney, and I guess you said everything looks good.
Very good. Gentleman from Ford, thanks for the overview. This only calls for a public hearing. Gentleman from 5, you recognize.
So this is not just a misdemeanor trespassing thing, this would be a criminal, this is something you pick somebody up on without, and carry them charged and put them in, for that kind of type of behavior or something.
You can, but it's limited now in terms of the behavior. It's it's content neutral, and it's time, place, and manner restrictions which meet constitutional requirements.
Two sides.
Tupelo spent a lot of time putting everything theirs together, and I've looked, and it's a good.
Who decides when that individual crossed that threshold?
Our code enforcement folks. We get a complaint.
And police officers.
Yeah, police.
Chief Ballard, you recognize. Come on in, you recognize. Yes, sir. Speak up. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We had the opportunity to talk to Tupelo Police Chief on some of their situations, which is very similar. A lot of the individuals that, like what Alderman Brooks referred to, are not from this community. They are professional panhandling. They will set off, and some of them have been showing a little bit more aggression. Give $2, that's not good enough, give me 10. It falls just up under that merit of criminal kind of strong arm threatening, and it's a gap there in coverage, and that's what this ordinance will help provide, sir. But it would be, it's mainly our patrol officers that will be able to go in and address that. And it's very common on a Sunday afternoon where you'll see our intersections start getting inundated. Many times those individuals are from Meridian or from other places that are coming into an area that's not as saturated for panhandling. Tupelo experienced the exact same problem.
Chief, thank you very much. Any additional comments or inquiries?
May I follow?
Yes, sir. Gentleman from 5, you recognize.
So right now, you gotta go sign a peace bond to have somebody picked up for trespassing. If you're a shopping center owner or something, and this person continues to lauder or panhandle or whatever, that's the process where now the owner calls, officer comes out to the property, determines whether it meets this threshold or whatever, picks the individual up, and y'all decide at the station not whether it's met the burden for this type of criminal behavior, right?
Yes, sir. And Alderman Beatty, an important point, with trespassing in the state of Mississippi, you have to give a verbal warning or some type of indication. And many times those business owners have met that individual for the first time. So, and it's very taxing on the system, a very slow system. So
This
As
would
you
cut
stated,
through
sir.
that.
Yes, sir. It cuts through, it speeds up the process for officer decision on the street. Yes, sir.
Are you?
Thank you very much, Chief. Any additional comments on part, Gentleman 7, go ahead.
Consent,
Recognize.
consent, if you just call.
Consent,
for
yes, sir.
reading.
Yes, sir, just want to give a brief overview, very good, thank you. Next item, engineering, consideration approval of Burns Dirt Construction, Inc., as the lowest best bid for the amount of $36,383,203.68 for the Mississippi Highway 182 revitalization project, held field FBLD 7113-00004, LPA 108418801-000, in accordance with the Mississippi Department of Transportation Local Public Agency guidelines and procedures, and authorization for the city engineer and mayor to proceed with contract execution pending MDOT review and concurrence. Consent?
We'll leave that all consent, Barry.
Okay, leave off consent. Very good. Any comments or inquiries by my colleagues? If none, we'll proceed. Next item, consideration of approval of the low quote. We don't have the lowest best bidder yet, in the amount of, and that's left blank right now, for University Drive and Montgomery Street intersection mask arm foundation installation. Mr. Burnell, I'm going to recognize you, so I have 2 blanks in this for the board. Just give the board a brief amount of information.
Yeah, and thank you for your patience, City Clerk. So we are waiting on quotes today. This is the corner of Montgomery and Main Street at the new Cadence site. So they're redoing the corner and working with the city on making the ADA improvements correct, but as a part of the Main Street project next year, there's a mast arm for the light that will go there. We're trying to coordinate getting that day set so we don't come back next year and tear it from the concrete. And so we're trying to get the quote as quickly as possible because their construction as quickly as possible, hence the rush. We should have these quotes today. And if we don't, we will certainly pull the item, but it's a bit of a Hail Mary to try to work with coordination of construction. We're trying to get the sidewalk built before students get back. That's why we're pushing this to get done quickly. So we should have quotes today. Chris has got this quotes coming, and we should have by Tuesday.
Give you an idea, that foundation is 30 inches around and 15 feet deep. So that's why we're trying to get it ahead of time, because if we come back with, and then there's also gas, AT&T, drainage, all through there. So right now, the whole corner's tore up, and so it's easy. Pretty much we wanted to just find where it'll fit. But that's why you're trying to put a 15-foot deep hole right next to the road. So that's kind of why we're doing the way we're trying to do it.
And given the fact that we do not have the lowest bidder in the amount, do you want to leave this all consent until this is evaluated and looked at by the mayor? We'll leave it off. Very good. Next item, Finance Administration Claims Docket, that's no consent. Fire Department requests authorization for training Chief Brian Arnett to travel to Pensacola, Florida to attend the Water on the Fire Conference in August at an estimated cost of $1,200. Consent?
Consent. You skip one, Vice Mayor.
Okay, I'm sorry. Request acceptance 2024 financial statements.
Consent.
Human Resources, the first 2, we'll start with Gladys Gibbs, is the Residential Drive and Sanitation Environmental Services Department. What's the will of the board?
Consent.
Consent. Request authorization to hire Jarrett Hunley as Commercial Drive and Sanitation Environmental Services Department.
Consent.
Consideration of the discipline recommended by Sanitation Director Chris Smiley as a result of IA number 07162024 for a Starkville sanitation worker.
Consent.
It takes us down to police. Consideration to purchase a used vehicle VIN number 5415 at a cost of $25,650 from line item number 001-000-334-126. What's the will? Pleasure.
Consent.
Consent. Sanitation Department requests approval for TAG Truck Center, the nearest licensed dealer to repair the 2019 Peterbilt residential garbage truck at a cost of $6,326.98, including parts, freight, labor, and supplies, in that a dealer must perform the repairs. What's the will?
Consent.
Consent. That appears to the Vice Mayor. It concludes our agenda. This work session will stand adjourned. Have a great weekend.
All right.